Really great to see everybody. We've got an action-packed agenda for you today. My name is Saad. I run a company called Manage a Kind, which is all about leadership development. And I use my experience as being an executive general manager with a global team of 200 people, where I learned a lot about leadership and coaching and working with remote teams. But I'm also the cluster lead in L&D Shakers for L&D means business. And that's a new learning cluster that we launched this year. For those of you, I'm sure many of you are already familiar. And it's all about how do we help the learning profession move from a learning function into one that really drives business performance and strategy and growth and that can align what we do strategically to the company's priorities. So that's the aim of the workshop today. We thought, why not help people understand, firstly, what is business strategy before we start to think about how do we align at a macro level and down to the solutions, learning solutions that we have. So this is very much about developing business acumen. And so you will learn language today, and it's not about getting the answers right through the workshop activities. It is a safe space. Feel free to make mistakes. When we think we've got the right level of stretch and excitement, we think we've got the right balance for you today. There's terms you're going to learn, commercial business terms, and way of looking at things that will definitely be new to you. There's no shadow of a doubt about that today. So do be prepared, but also feel at ease. Yeah, this is partly to do with being in the same situation, same bit of the journey together. And by the end, though, I'm hoping you'll have a bit of a euphoria moment, a bit of an several aha moments, I hope, along the way. So that's a bit about me and what the workshop is designed to do. Chris, good to hear a bit from you, and yeah, introduce yourself.
Well, hello everyone. Greetings from Seattle. Yes, my name is Chris Olson. I've been in learning and development for a long time in various roles, and it's fabulous to see you all here. And for me, it's also especially nice because moving from being an L&D practitioner to being an L&D strategic practitioner is such a valuable shift, and it gives us such a meaningful opportunity to make a difference for the business and also to have a lot of fun. And so I'm happy to be here with you all and to yeah, co-create the session together.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Chris. And it's been an absolute pleasure working with Chris. This workshop wouldn't be the same without Chris. So and Supriya, who unfortunately couldn't join us today. We're the trio behind the L&D Means Business Learning Cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now because we're going to absolutely get kick-started with a bit of a fun icebreaker. Who doesn't love a this and that situation, right? A bit of a this and that. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Yeah. Okay, so I'm nodding heads. All right, so let me know in the chat. Are you a tea person or a coffee person? And you can only pick these two. Which kind of, what's your preference? Tea or coffee? Ah, I always loved it. Team, always. Oh, I love the way you put the M in tea there. So that was very smart. So you're a team person. Herbal tea, okay, I'll allow that. Coffee, yeah, I think the teas kind of have it. That's totally fine. Moving on to the next one. Do you like to read in your on in yourself, get immersed, or do you like to watch? What's your preference? Watching by Marielle, reading. Sarah, good to see you again. Reading. Derek, reading, watching. Yeah, bit of both, interestingly. Jane says watching as well. Both. I love that. I love that. What about this one? I'll put quieter vibe because some of us still like to, have a bit of a background noise whilst we're walking the dog or pets or just walking through the park or we might be jogging. But the scenery is very different. What kind of vibe do you like? Busy vibe by Emmanuel. Mix of both from Sarah, Lena, both. Claire, quieter when it's daytime. Yeah, busy at night. Absolutely. That's a really good one. Both of the net as well. Mehdi says busy as well. Yeah, love it, love it. Yeah, it depends. I'm kind of, I think I'm a bit like Claire on the morning time. Get early, 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, get out if you can, before the whole rush starts. So yeah, hopefully that gives us a bit of a nice icebreaker to get started. So what is business strategy? I've kind of explained. We're going to give you a really useful three-step process that you can take away, and I'm going to share this handout with you, so you don't need to worry about taking lots of notes. We're going to make it really practical. What we hope that you can get out of today is how do you build a strategy? Think about we can't give you everything that executives use, senior leaders use, but we're gonna certainly give you a lot to think about how putting yourself in their shoes, and how do you work with stakeholders to craft effectively, a change to products and pricing, which are the reason why we've chosen those two things is because that's the key thing. When a company has a purpose, the main two things that are impacted, their revenue and why they've set up to serve clients and customers with a particular need is through their product. So we're going to give you a flavor of product and pricing today. And I think you may have got my email a couple of days ago prepping you for this, where I said we're not going to just talk about much about learning today, except if it comes up organically. This is truly about getting our head in the commercial space. Even though we haven't got the seat at the table, there are opportunities like this where you can absolutely start to learn the language and speak the language of and get the vocabulary and mindset that you need to contribute to business decisions. So, what is a business strategy? For the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to give you a very quick whistle stop tour of key concepts. And that's the only theory you're going to get. The rest, we're going to move into Mural as an interactive board, and we're going to do that pretty quickly in the next 5 minutes or so. So, here's a useful definition. There's a lot of definitions that you'll find on Google. This is the one that I think captures the most. So, it's a competitive plan that helps the business understand what's going on around it, what's going on outside. It's a bit like if you were, you know, in your house and you heard some commotion outside, you say, hey, what's going on outside? Back in the old days, we used to do that, right? When we used to play around on the streets. And it allows the business to understand what's happening in what we call the operating environment. That's a key phrase that C leaders use. You may have heard it already. Operating environment is both in two types of environment. One is outside, as I say, so the market industry, and one is inside, the internal environment, so our people, our culture, etc. And the two need to marry and need to match and align and look at gaps between the two. And we'll give you the three-step process to do exactly that. And why do we look at opportunities and risks in those environments? What's the even need? Because unfortunately, nothing stays static. We've seen what's happened with AI, we've seen what's happened in the last 2 years, never mind 10 years. Things don't stay the same. When you get on board that vessel and you're charting your journey, if things stay static, you wouldn't need a strategy. And if things stay static, you wouldn't need to look at your operating environment. But we know things constantly change, which impacts our ability to deliver our purpose and our goals. And if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to pop that in the chat, and I can sort of answer along the way as well. So let me give you a very quick example. So here's Crohn's and Colitis, a UK-based charity. And Crohn's, some of you will know this, is a very severe disability, disease, stomach ulcers effectively that really affects your ability. I've chosen this because my sister has this medical condition, and effectively the purpose of Crohn's is to help patients lead an independent life. Because of the debilitating nature, you can become quite dependent on other people. So if you think about how that translates to their products, they've got two really amazing products. One is called a Can't Wait card. And one of the biggest problems is challenges for people with Crohn's is that when they need to go to the toilet very, very quickly and they need immediate access. So what they've done is they've created keys and cards that if you show it, and in raising brand awareness with leading brands, retail outlets like your famous supermarkets, if you present that card as a Crohn's patient, you can get access to 9,000 public toilets and also within supermarkets and big retail chains, which are normally reserved for staff. That's a really great product. Of course, then you've got colleagues inside Crohn's thinking about the operating environment and realizing, my God, it's a very difficult operating environment right now. That's a key language or vocabulary that you could replay and you could use with your senior leaders. If you're feeling something is changing, the phrase to use there is it's a difficult operating environment. And why? Well, funding is being cut because, of course, Crohn's is a charity. And then you've got another colleague who's saying, they agree, it's a risky environment. And then you start to get really interesting. It's like more data led. So it's more than last year. So there's a comparison in there. It's no good just throwing it up. Some comparison, some data point is really useful. So he is saying, 5% increase in people being diagnosed. What pressure is that going to put on the charity in this case? And I give a charity because most of us think a business plan is just for businesses with a revenue, big EBITDA, big venture capital companies. But actually, a charity also needs to have a good business strategy as well. Ah, okay, Zoraida, this is personal for you as well. Thanks for sharing. And I know there's a couple on this call who they're friends who also have that challenge. So hopefully you can relate to that as well. Thanks for being so open and sharing that. So that's to give you a bit of a quick example on how to use it. Now here's the three-step process. Really simple, and we're going to help you apply that today. We're not going to go through theory. I'm going to flash it up on screen so you have a mental model, but then we're going to let you feel it. We're going to let you experience it. So the first step is to identify gaps. And which gaps am I talking about? A little bit about, putting on the radar, right? What's going on outside the company? What's going on around us? And the idea, a bit like a submarine, it's too late to say, oh, we've been hit by a torpedo, AI, a torpedo. We need to use our sonar detection and our ability to understand the industry a little bit longer range. And you know what it's like being learning professionals. We sometimes are very tactical and we can think in the here and now, and we're often just learning focused. Never mind what's happening in the wider business. To think outside as well can be a real challenge, but don't see it as a linear progression. Oh, I need to think beyond my business, inside my business, then outside. You can investigate all of those things. So what's going on outside the company? What's going inside in the company? And we'll give you some tips on how to do that. And how does the business start to respond to that? Looking at the gaps that it's identified and what's happening, it will then effectively create business goals and some solutions. So what core changes need to be made to the business in order to respond? And usually, as I say, it's around product and pricing, because why is the organization set up? So Crohn's colitis has been set up to help those Crohn patients to lead independent lives with a set of key cards, etc. If the number of people start to increase and they're not keeping up with the infrastructure and the tech and the ability to respond, then that's going to cause a challenge. Having the right people who can relate with a lived experience, having the right culture is really, really important as the organization grows. Usually when you're creating the business goal, you're just analyzing what needs to change. But the design solution stage, what's different is that step 3, that's where you're actually going about and say, oh, let's model now. What new products could we create? If we're having 5% increase in the number of patients being diagnosed, a bit like dyslexia, more and more people in the workplace are coming with a diagnosis of ADHD, a diagnosis of dyslexia, they're more and more neurodivergent. How does the organization figure that out on its radar, sonar detector, but then how does it start to respond in good time? And that's the key phrase, good time, so that it doesn't become, the opportunity doesn't turn into a risk, which is that definition that we saw previously. Hopefully that makes a bit of sense so far. Let me just double check with everybody if anyone has any questions or things they want to just clarify with me before I move on. All good, yeah? All right. So just a message to Chris. I've just made you host so you can do the breakouts in a few minutes. All right. So before we move into mural and do the breakout rooms, I wanted for you to just think for a minute, just a reflection, putting our thinking caps on, or maybe like a water cooler moment that you had, something that think about one thing that you're aware of. Or maybe you've overheard it in a water cooler moment, or you've heard a business leader talk about it at an all hands meeting. That is that one thing. What's that one thing that's changing or really could impact your company going forward? It could be a small thing actually. It could be for one department or a business line. It doesn't have to be, a major thing. Have a think about that one thing and share it in the chat if you can. Let's take just a minute to do that. Yeah, Snehal talks about restructuring sales and taking OKR seriously. Could you share a bit more about that, Snehal? That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, sure. So at the starting of every year, our CEO decides the OKR. So my company is like a medium size, just 200 to 250 employees. So
Mm,
last year we observed that CEO has set up the OKR, but no one followed it, and that's
mm,
why it didn't penetrate through all the department. And to all the employees, and we were not able to achieve the sales target as well. As well as last year, we didn't had any sales strategy. So this year we decided that so we didn't achieve the target as well, and just like 60% or something. So this year we
Ah,
decided that everyone has to take OKR seriously. So we are deciding OKRs on a quarterly basis. Like right now, every employee has to do their OKR for next quarter, and then in Q3 and Q2 it will change again.
ah,
So we are putting a lot of focus on that. Also, we have hired one sales enablement manager who will help our sales team because it's distributed in the world in a different countries. So that person will help us to drive the strategy of sales and improve and grow our sales more. So we are putting a lot of effort because we are sales driven companies, B2B. So we are putting a lot of efforts in that. Yeah.
yeah, thanks so much for sharing. And I've seen the rest in the chat, and through my conversation with lots of L&D colleagues through the L&D Means Business Cluster, I'm thoroughly impressed and like really excited by how much we already know about the business that's happening, even if we've not got a seat at the table. And so it's about how do we turn that into something and help the business take that into implementation phase. And that's what I hope we can do for you today. Thanks so much for sharing that, Snell. That sounds interesting, and I think probably a lot of people can relate. There's so many coming through, really exciting ones. Maybe Claire, you could talk to us about the online review space that you were sharing there.
Yeah, so I think one of our biggest challenges that we're facing now is like this change of demographics on the internet. Like the 3-star review these days is pretty much dead. It's people leave 5-star or 1-star, and it's become this increasingly Cartesian. And then our customer service teams deal with a lot of upset owners because they've left a 1-star review. But so we're having to sort of change how we train up our customer service reps to be able to have those conversations so much more frequently than they used to, but also training up our content moderators to pick up, and also as language, the English language is evolving quite rapidly at the moment. And so how do you train up someone who could be in London or they could be in the Philippines to recognize American slang or to recognize things that are going on in American politics,
Awesome.
to identify this person is actually talking about this thing that you don't know about because you don't follow American media. So that's sort of a difficult. It's affecting many areas of business within our business, but particularly those two departments there. Yeah.
What a great example. And who would have predicted? You've got societal changes, you've got cross boundary, across cultures and countries, and this polarization, as you say, of these review ratings and language. I mean, who would have thought that could impact a customer review business?
Yeah.
Really interesting. Thanks so much for sharing and for others. Would anyone else, just to make sure that I won't be able to get around to everybody, but does anyone else like to share an example that they put in the chat? No worries if not. I'm going to put something in the chat here. So if you think about all of the issues that people colleagues have mentioned in the chat, there's something called Pastel as a framework. You may have seen it already. I'm not going to go through it today, but it's just a resource. Just keep it in the back of your mind. And it's effectively these are more what's going on outside. So in your operating environment. So P is for political factors, E is for economic, S is for social, T is for technological. So Lee Hessian talked about AI, that would fall under the technological, the T of Pastel, and some of the stuff that Claire spoke about would be in the P and S, and then Lee spoke about some economic changes for disposable income. So you can see how those factors would fit, and it's just a way to take some random factors and sort of group them. Thanks for sharing that. That was really great in terms of thinking that big picture. We are going to now shortly move into the case study, and we're going to move into Mural. So I'll introduce you very briefly to the case study. Who is the company? The company is a games company called Arcadia, and the headline is that they currently offer about 30 free games, and very popular. They make about 840,000 euros revenue annually, and the way they make their money is they charge advertising revenue. So because they've got thousands and thousands of players, companies, if I wanted to promote my brand, if I'm a clothing company, I'll say, I'll take out a package and advertise in the game so I can get in front. I'm sure many of us have played Candy Crush and have seen lots of these ads just pop up randomly. But they actually, because of what's happening going on outside and inside the company, Kim Marsh, who's the CEO, and you will act as a team manager who reports into CEO Kim Marsh. She's decided that she would like to switch from free games to a smaller number of paid games. But how you get there and all that kind of stuff is to be figured out. And she needs some help. She needs your help with modeling. Now, usually as a team manager or an L&D manager, so you're the L&D manager, and if you're not in L&D and you're from a slightly different background, to see yourself as a team manager, the aim is to, she's invited you, even though you're not normally part of business strategy conversations. Kim has given you the opportunity to collaborate with the product manager and the marketing head as a stakeholder, two key stakeholders. Think about what is going to be the new product strategy, pricing strategy going forward. And what we've got set up for you is three key tasks that you're going to work through that will and we've got lots of clear instructions as we're going through this, and we'll come back after each activity. We'll do a bit of a debrief, and we've got some links to data that we will share with you. So that's the brief for you. So if you're an L&D manager or a team manager, normally you wouldn't get the scope to get exposed to this kind of stuff, but you will do through this case study. So yeah, just another reminder of the team structure. Now, just to clarify, as you know, so the goal has already been set, right? If you think about it, they've already set the goal that they want to move from free games with advertising to paid games. So what you're going to work on is working backwards to learn how and why the business decided to switch to paid games. So you're going to do that step one, and then you're going to do step three. Then you're going to work forward to plan to change their product and pricing strategy, right? Two of the key areas. We talked about sales earlier, etc. So you're going to work on step one and three because two has already been done. And so we're going to open up the breakout room shortly. Here's what step 1A looks like. You'll be able to see at the top right, when you get into Mural in a second, you'll be able to see some data on what's going on outside. And that should help you figure out what it is that you download that data by sort of right-clicking, and then you'll just follow the instructions that are here, steps 1A. Hopefully that will be pretty self-explanatory. We're going to be in groups of about maybe 4 or so, and I'll hand over to Chris in a second to explain how the groups are going to work. Any questions so far before we open up the breakout rooms? Do you want me to go back to any particular slide just quickly? I'm happy to just sort of share that. All good. All right, that's fantastic. All right, Chris, over to you to sort of talk us through how this is going to work.
Okay, so what we're going to do is, like Saad said, we're going to get into different groups. Right now, I'm making a few changes to those groups, and so it'll take a second before everything's ready. Just a sec.
Sure.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah, no worries. Whilst you're doing that, if you want to take a couple more minutes, because what we're doing is we're trying to group you of those who are present here today and put you into actual groups because we've created individual mural boards for you. So let's just take another minute to do that. And whilst it's being done, I'm just going to actually give everybody access to the mural, the main mural. So just bear with me a second while I just do that, yeah? All right, great. So I'm just going to pop into the meeting chat the mural board. You don't need to log in. You don't need an account. There should be something that says enter as visitor. So if you could just enter your name on that, that would be awesome. So just see if you can go ahead and click on the mural link. Great. I can already see people logging in. When you're logging in, if you look at the bottom there, yeah, so I think some people have used Mural, especially if you've attended my previous workshops. But if you haven't used Mural, right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see lots of different icons. And the first one will say SQ, and that's me. If you hover over and click on SQ, the button, right at the bottom there, that will allow you to follow me. So wherever I go on the board, it will allow you to follow me. I can see most of you are doing it. So you should see, and I'm just gonna, yeah, so feel free to stick in Mural. I am gonna share my screen, but just for those who are watching the recording, but you guys feel free to stay inside of Mural and you can minimize your Zoom screen. Why don't you go ahead, say hello, pick a post-it note just to get familiar with how it works. You'll be mainly typing into these virtual post-it notes. So go ahead and just see if you can do that. See if it works for you. Double click on the post-it note and it should allow you to enter some text. Yeah, I can see people are getting the hang of this already. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's pretty easy once you know how. If you've used Miro, it's very similar. It's very similar as well. Pretty creative, just allows you to sort of move things around. Yeah, good to see different languages as well. That's super cool. So in a minute, I am going to take you through. So if you just hover over, if you now follow, well, it should be following me still. So if you follow me again, if you followed me once, it should still allow you to continue following me. So wherever I move, I'm now on what we call the group gallery. And don't click on anything just yet on the group gallery. What this is that this will show you your name. So what Chris is effectively doing has taken a print screen of the people who are participating today and has put you into each room. But before you click on anything, what we're going to do, we're going to jump off from this board and we're going to jump off into each of you groups' individual mural board. So what I want you to do just now is, Chris, have you finished putting all the groups
Yeah,
together?
yeah. Groups are all updated now. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So do you want to take it from here and just explain the next steps?
Sure, yeah. So you'll see we have groups 1, 2, 3, and 5. So like Assad was saying, find your name in one of those groups. And then if your name isn't in there, if something's happened and your name isn't in there, then please chat that in. And then once you find your name, I invite you, you'll see right below your name, there's a click mural board link. Go ahead and click on that link. You will get popped out of this mural board onto your own breakout group's private mural board. So go ahead, find your name, click on the mural board, and then go to your board. And then once you're on your board,
Oops. Someone's moving the board. Let me just lock that down. Hold on.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, click on the link for your mural board. So click on the click mural board right below your name.
And just give us a thumbs up on the screen or a reaction or something in the chat, just
Yeah.
to let us know that you've successfully entered your private board. Okay, thumbs up from Claire. Slehal.
Okay. So yeah, it looks like there's a few of us who still get to. So yeah, Jane, go ahead and click there, and Alice, go ahead and click below your name. So Alice, you're in group 5. Okay, so it looks like Alice might have disappeared too. Okay, so does everyone in your group? Okay, that's excellent. So here's what's going to happen now. If you're on your group board, what you'll see over to the right, you'll see a light blue slide. You'll see a flashing start button. And after that start button, you'll see some slides. And these slides are what we're going to use in order to move through our workshop today. We're going to go step by step. So you'll want to just do one step at a time. And we'll do that step as a large group. So just wait until we talk about that in our large group. And the first place we're going to start is where it says goal. So we have a light blue slide that says goal, and it has case study. And here's your instructions. I'll give you the instructions now, and then Saad, if you have anything to add after that, then you can do
Sure.
that. And then what we're going to do is I will put each of you in your breakout groups so you can talk with the people, the same people who are on your mural board. And so what we're going to do in this first round, we'll have multiple rounds. This first round, I invite you to read the light blue case study. And then over to the right of that, you'll see it says step 1A, identify gaps. And over there, your first step, you have instructions there of what to do. So you can see there's on the far right, there's a download data here. And so you will download that case study information. And then you have an exercise down below that says external factors, issues outside the company. And so you'll be reading light blue case study. You'll go over to step 1A, click the download data here. You'll read that information there. And then together as a group, you're going to be dragging and dropping those blue external factors over into the light blue box. So it's, I guess it's a 4-step process. And then after that, you can, in the pink sticky note, you can write your ideas and rationale and why. So first of all, Saad, do you have any instructions to add to that? And then any questions that everybody has? I want to hear whatever questions you have as well, so we can make sure we're all on the same page before we, before we jump in.
Nothing to add from me. That was beautiful. Any questions from colleagues on the call about what to do and how to do it?
Yeah, well, actually, I see a question, Saad. So I see people. Saad, are you on the main facilitator page?
I'm on group one. So
Oh,
Lee
you're
says
in group one. Okay, great.
that's okay. So Lee and Mehdi said I can't see the download option. So there is another way of doing it. If you double click instead of right clicking, if you double click
Oh,
with the
thank
left
you.
mouse,
Mhm.
when you double click, it should come up with a blow up of the document, and then at the top of left of the document, there's a download icon just after the document title name. If you click on that, that should also allow you to download. The double click works. Great, Mariel. Thanks, Mehdi. Yeah, cool, cool. Hopefully that works for you as well, Lee. Yeah, 2 thumbs up and a virtual thumb up. That's great. We're rocking and rolling there. Cool. Any other questions? And after this first task, it will start to free flow because you're just going to become super experts in mural as well as business. So let's see how it goes. Are we ready to open up? Are we ready to start the simulation, the exercise? Yeah. Okay, let's
And,
go.
and and Saad, before we jump in, how many minutes? So is this going to be a 10-minute activity?
This will be a 10-minute activity. Yeah, you should get the rough guideline timings on top of the activity as well. We might change that depending on how we go, if you need to slow up or speed down. But yeah, 10 minutes for this one, guys. And so work pretty fast in teams. And yeah, we'll take it from there. Fabulous. We'll have a bit of a debrief now in terms of how we found that activity. I was able to float around to a couple of great conversations in the micro rooms. It'd be good to just get some dialogue. Where did your conversation go? What kind of things did it make you think about? And of course, answering the question, what trends, what was the real driver, the rationale why the company decided to switch to paid games? So
I'll try, but Andrea, please help. I think the external things, were definitely the fact that kids were overwhelmed by the advertisements, and that was very clear that we saw that as a reason. And then we had a discussion about fake advertisements. Like, could that be a reason to lose clients as well? And if that happens, is that something that we do already? And how do we want to do that? How do we want to cope with that? That is kind of what we discussed. And then suddenly the screen said already, hey, you have to leave the room.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
one of
we
the
were,
reasons why we gave a couple extra minutes because I know you were having a great dialogue as well. And here's another thing, right? It's about reputation. So what would happen if, even if it's got nothing to do with the company, the advertisers are putting in fake information? From a brand perspective, let's say it's an advertiser's problem. They're doing the fake ads, but what impact do you think that could have on Arcadian? Even if it doesn't have any financial impact, what other impacts could there be, do you think?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's obviously a negative impact. Yeah, we were
Yeah.
discussing this, that um, customers might they might be contaminated, right? Even
Yeah,
if it's the advertiser's fault, they would
yeah.
still associate that bad behavior with Arcadia, and so it's just a spiraling thing. And we ended up thinking that, just like you mentioned, Sad, that like you suggested to us, it's nice to kind of anticipate these future changes, these
Yes.
potential risks, and so start to mitigate them before they actually happen.
Absolutely, because one of the great conversations you were having in your group was that, or was it another group perhaps? They were saying actually there is this is just like articles talking, there's no legislation. And that was the riders group. Let me bring you guys in. Do you want to talk about what was the conversation? Thanks, Andrea, Marielle. That was really awesome, and Emmanuel as well. Yeah, Zoraida, do you want to come in and sort of share what came out from your group?
Yeah, we were talking about ads because the sheet had a lot of things about a lot of information about ads, and we were discussing two things. It's a lot of information from either social media or media, but there's not a government decision or a government discussion about it. So should we consider it as an important piece of information for our strategy or not? But on the other side, it's the opinion of our users that can influence other users of either Arcadia or our competitors. So this is what we were discussing. It is important. Maybe it's not the decision for the strategy change because there's not a regulation, but it should be considered because it's the opinion of our users.
Yeah, I love that. What a great debate. This is already such a great business industry strategic kind of debate, and it's awesome to see. And one of the things that you could be looking at this, then you're all on the right track. Key takeaway was it's fake adverts, right? We're trying to get ahead of it. We don't want to leave it too late that we're already getting negative reputation, brand by association, with these fake advertisers. And you could start to turn the things into strategic questions to the business. So for example, again, in another group, we talked about, what's the click-through rate on fake ads, right? And which kind of advertisers are they? Are we trying to change our whole business model just because there's one or two rogue elements? Instead of changing from free to paid, are there other options even, right? Could we just have tighter controls on advertisements? And this is where you begin to get more strategic rather than rushing into execution, which often a lot of us who are operational, tactical colleagues, even I used to be very tactical. Okay, great, let's run with it. I might question it, but I'll run with it. Actually, are there other ways? Our customers complaining? If they're not complaining, why should we shift? And is now a good time, and when is a good time? These are all strategic questions that can change, even if you don't change the overall direction. They are important strategic questions. And I think Lee spoke about a great example in the chat that other social media companies have this reputational risk. And the way business leaders think about it is different types of risk. So there's a strategic risk, which means the issue and potential risks in not being able to deliver our goals. That's what strategic risk is. Financial risk, when we say, oh, we're down on our revenue, we're down on our EBITDA, or we're not going to hit our sales targets, that's called a financial risk. And reputational, we've already discussed today. So sometimes at the moment, Arcadia, well, we'll see in the next task, maybe they're not getting a financial impact yet, maybe they're not seeing a strategic risk yet, but it is a reputational risk. And that bucketing is really helpful when you're having conversation with senior leaders who think in this kind of way. Any other thoughts, reflections, comment before we move on to the next awesome task? Great. All right. Fantastic. Well, we're going to start to heat up now. So here is, oh, that was the mock answer I was giving you there. So we're now going to we just looked at what's going on outside, right, in the industry. We're now going to look at what's going on inside. And one of the ways in which business leaders start with this is they look at financial performance as a proxy. because financial performance, your revenue, right, will tell you where you're going. And a good example I'll give is it's a bit like if I have a job. If I'm starting to get a higher salary, it's indicative of something. It means that I'm developing in my skills, I'm moving ahead in my career. That's a good indicator, a good metric in terms of my monthly wage to help me understand how I'm doing in my career. So in the same way, the business will use its financial metrics to do that. And we're going to introduce you to two metrics today. One is, well, revenue, I'm sure you already will know. EBITDA is just another word for profit. So we're going to introduce to you at the very basic but high level, how can you calculate EBITDA? Really high level, and I promise you, you'll feel hopefully so relieved once you see how easy it actually is to do this. We're going to introduce to another metric called CAGR. How many have you ever heard of CAGR before? Just a quick show of hands, or give me a reaction. Have you heard of CAGR before? Okay, a few nods. Okay, so that's great. So you're already learning something today immediately. It just means the compound annual growth rate. It's just a fancy way of saying the average over a period of time. So what's my salary over the last 3 years? I won't give you the answer to that, but yeah, I'm just giving that as an example. We've given you a tool to how to calculate it, an online tool. So you've got all the tools at your disposal to do what you need to. It may sound scary, but I promise you it's not. And we want you to do a couple of things. First, read the financial table, download the document in exactly the same way. So this is a new document now. It's got revenue, table numbers, etc. You're going to calculate the EBITDA profit, calculate the EBITDA margin, and calculate the CAGR using the online tool. And once you're done, maybe one of you can just take a print screen of your spreadsheet of the data of the spreadsheet that you've got there and paste it into your mural, your private mural board on the left. Then I want you to think about, what does the data tell you? What does the financial performance data tell you about the EBITDA, about the CAGR? I'll give you an example. Is it going down? Is it going up? Because we've given you, for a couple of these metrics, we've given you 4 years worth of data. Really, really simple data though. 4 years worth. What's the trend? And so write what you're seeing there in the post-it note, the yellow post-it note on the right. Make sense? All good. Well, we will truly have 10 minutes for this. We won't extend it only because we think you're getting into it now and the formulas are all there and it'll be pretty cool. So go ahead and do it. Work fast if you can, and we will open up the breakout rooms. I'm going to show you the mock answer in a second as well. Welcome. Right. We'll wait for people to trickle back in. Yeah, we are here. So the first question is, how comfortable was that? Did you feel in your comfort zone or outside your comfort zone?
Outside.
Yeah.
Outside.
Very outside.
Outside.
And I'll ask that question again in about 5 minutes. But this is great, right? Because I'm going to show you a mock answer and what good looks like. But it looks like you all managed to get the correct answers. So feel really pleased with yourselves, because this is the first time you would have been exposed to this. As you continue to keep looking and exploring this stuff, you'll start to get more comfortable with it. It'd be great if someone could share their screen maybe with the app, with their mural board or the spreadsheet. Which group would like to do that? Just show us what you came up with your answer.
I can do that.
Go for
I
it.
should share my screen, or how should I do it?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, share your screen. We'll start to learn from each other now. Awesome.
All right, so this is it.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so maybe this is easier with the Excel file. So we just for EBITDA, we just divided the profit over the revenue and multiplied that by 100 so that we can get the percentage for each year. And so to get CAGR, we just inputted the first year and the last year into that tool that you gave us, and selected the time frame.
Yeah.
And we pasted the percentages from this tool.
It's beautiful. People go to accounting school for this. I'm not joking. And you've just learned it in a really simple way. What does the EBITDA margin tell us as a group? what does the EBITDA margin tell us? Which is the profit, right? It tells us, if we're making £3,000 a month salary, how much are we left with in our savings? That's what the EBITDA margin is. So the percentage tells us our percentage of savings, basically. So on 1,000 out of 3,000 now, what does the trend show us?
It's not a lot, and it's definitely decreasing. Yeah.
Yeah, Claire's put a great twist to it as well. Like profits have gone up in absolute terms, right? Like in terms of actual monetary value from 132,000 to 151,000. But actually in real terms it's going down because margin relates to something and it's revenue. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's should the business be curious about that? Should they be happy about it or should they be worried about it?
Worried because we're losing profitability over the last 4 years.
Yeah, could you keep sharing actually, Andrea, if that's okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're using
Definitely.
you as a prop, which is awesome. It's fantastic. Emmanuel, that was high level summary was great. Our profitability is being impacted. How do you know that? Oh, our EBITDA margin is going down year on year. Add YOY, EBITDA, you could write YOY year on year. That's it. You do PCP, EBITDA margins going down. PCP, what does PCP stand for? Previous comparative period. YOY, year on year. PCP, previous comparative. So what instead of saying May 2024 compared to May 2023, I just say May 2024 versus PCP. I don't need to give the dates. It just immediately assumes that if I am presenting data in April 2025, I immediately mean April 2024 because that's what PCP, the same period. If I say SDLY, anyone want to have a guess of what that means? Yes, SDLY. It means same. I'm putting this in the thing.
Yeah,
It means
Claire is
same.
raising her hand.
Yes, go Claire, go for it.
Sorry, I was raising my hand because I've got a question.
Go for it.
Oh, okay.
Should I ask the question now, or do you want
Yes.
to tell us? I'm kind of intrigued as to what that other acronym stands for. But because I work in like the tourism industry where we have periods of fluctuation throughout the year, could I use PCP to like refer to our previous ramp period, i.e., because we see an increase in travel around Christmas, but also in the summer? Or does it mean specifically the exact same period a year ago? Or could it mean...
It could be, it has to be exact same. So Christmas to Christmas, summer to summer.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Great question. Love it. And so say SDLY means same day last year. So it's kind of like PCP, but it's down to the day. What do we notice in the CAGR? Revenue versus operating costs.
So I'm not sure how to interpret that. I'm still not. So it's a compound annual growth rate, which is the average over a period of time. Yeah, help me out here.
Yeah, no worries. So anyone else want to have a go and save space? Honestly, it's not about getting it right. Yeah,
And
go
I
for
gave it a try. I'm not sure if I'm correct or not, but it's thinking that 2021 was the first year. It's like a 12% from now from the first year revenue. Is that it?
Yeah.
Because we're calculating between these two periods. We're not considering the 2022 and 2023, just the start and the last one, right? So from the start till the end of last year, it was a 12% period in revenue, 14% increase in operating costs, which means that the EBITDA, sorry, I have difficulty saying this in English, is 3.35, which it's below 5%. So
this is great.
Someone said in the comments something very interesting, it was Claire. Claire always has interesting things to say. Is it below inflation or not? This is something very interesting.
It's a good point. Inflation doesn't necessarily come here with regards to EBITDA. But when you talk about wages, maybe, so if you look at your employee salary increases, maybe that would be useful to compare against inflation. But for another time, I could send you some resources on inflation. But the way you described it, Zoraida, was excellent. Um, the strategic question that Kaggle answers is how much have we grown over the last 4 years? Have we grown a small amount? If it was 1%, that's a very small growth rate. How much has my salary increased by annually? It's a bit like that. So every year we do a salary increase. Usually they're between 1 to 4%, depending on how lucky you are, salary. A CAGR rate, just so you know, by a benchmark, anywhere between 4 to 10% CAGR rate for a normal business is a good CAGR. So a growth rate of 4 to 12% is good. If you had lower than 4%, you're running a risk because you've got a very small margin. Yeah. So, and someone said it, I think maybe you also said it, Zoraida, and others, that our revenue both are increasing by a good growth rate, so above 10%. Okay, let me just share screen, and I want to take you through very quickly a mock answer, which is pretty much what Andrea did, but I've got a couple of interesting takeaways as well for you. So, let's go through that now. All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen okay. Right, so basically, effectively what we said, you've pretty much done it. And when you look at there's a bonus points for charts as well. If you really want to, demonstrate your business acumen and make it visual and help yourself understand, you can kind of see the trend lines here on the EBITDA margin that basically everything is going down year on year, even if it looks like as if you've got a healthy margin. So that's pretty much it. So now we've done step one. Congratulations. You've basically done step one in the business strategy process. You've looked at what's going on outside. You looked at what's going on inside by virtue of looking at financial performance. That's not the only way, by the way. There's lots of other rich data inside the business you can look at and other things you can look at outside, but we wanted to give you a bit of a flavor. Goals already been set, step two, so we're going to skip that. We're now going over to step three. This is where we're starting to put things into practice. We're going to change the product strategy, and we've been given a list of products from Divya, who is the product manager, right? So a set of games, the 30 games that Arcadia use. What your job is going to be now is to help Divya as a product manager, working with her as key stakeholder in the business, to look at some business metrics. So you've got 30 games and 3 or 4 business metrics. Looking at those business metrics like customer satisfaction and the popularity of the game, you're going to decide which games you want to keep, which games you want to cut. So it's definitely the case that we do not want to keep all the games. So you definitely want to cut some games. And you've been asked to produce effectively a short list of those games based on the criteria that you've got. So you can again download that sheet when you get it, and we'll open up the breakout room shortly. Once you're finished, just take a print screen, find a way, whichever way to keep to do the list. Okay, no worries. Do we have any questions about the activity before I open up the breakout rooms? And Danette, I'll move you over to a different group just to make sure that we've got enough people with you there. Any other questions that people have about the activity? All right. Okay, great. So we'll open up the breakout rooms. We'll probably have to work even faster on this one to try and find a way to just streamline quickly. Don't think, just do. And I'll see you shortly. So 10 minutes on this one. I'll open up the breakout rooms now. Restart again. Would anyone like to share, perhaps from another group, maybe Nicolette from your group, like the spreadsheet? Maybe you can show us like the final list again.
Sure, but I think I might hand it over to Claire, not to dump it on you, Claire, but I feel like you came up with you started us off.
Thanks. Yeah, happy to. If you don't, I'm happy to share, or if you want to talk about it, Nicolette. But what we did is we calculated the maximum value by calculating the number of users by the proposed price. So we were aware that's the maximum, and we looked at it and we talked a little bit about do we want variation, but we saw one particular theme was by far the biggest, and actually they accounted for over half of what the profit from all the games. So this is the calculation of the profit, maximum profit from all the games. And this is the calculation of the profit from these 4 games. So we're thinking actually if we focused on that one brand, we'd really get to know our user base. We might be able to do merchandise, which I think was an suggested merchandise. We'd really be able to like hone in and just do that one thing, but do that one thing well to make us stand out.
Yes.
We did look at reviews. We were initially thinking maybe we should put like the highest revenue, highest reviews ones in. But I think in the end we did agree to sort of settle on making a brand out of Fireboy and Watergirl.
Yeah, interesting. So you've skipped ahead, and which is the final task, and you started to use possible pricing. Now it is a future pricing, proposed, but really interesting. You've used that as a metric as well. Really great. I'm going to show you. Thanks for sharing that. I'm going to show you another version as well. So I'll start sharing again. So if you could stop sharing,
I've lost my my Zoom.
No worries.
Okay. Am I still sharing?
Yeah, I think you still are.
Stop share. Got it.
No worries, Marielle. Thanks for joining. Appreciate that. I'll be in touch with some more follow-up. Don't worry. So we're just gonna move over now we're in the final leg of today. Great job, everyone, in really coming along on this journey. So look, there are different ways, right? So these are the business metrics. And the aim was for us to try and learn how can we move away from completion rates and happy sheets to try and determine what works well. Here, it's all about actual business metrics, product metrics. And so, yes, and you will see that sometimes those with really higher reviews actually had a high number of software bugs, but maybe you can commit to then resolving those with the software team. It's probably more important that they have a good base to start with in terms of reviews, or you might find something's getting bad reviews at the moment, but we can work on it. It just depends on the information. You can also look at popularity, number of times played, but that's where you could start from. And the best way to think about it is building blocks, right? So start from one point, maybe it's the number of times played, and then you use the other metrics to calibrate. So what we're going to do, oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. My bad. That's the actual list then that you've got there in terms of the highlighted games is one way of looking at the games you could do. So you could see a mix there of high ratings. And we've also got some sequel games, right? So Motorbike as a sequel game and Fireboy seem to be the ones that work. So definitely want to keep some sequel games in there. We didn't use price point at this stage because it's something that is coming in the future, although Claire's group did it, that's totally okay. What we want to do next is actually the final task. We want to see if it makes business sense. And what we're going to ask you to do is read the email from Kim Marsh, the CEO, and use the pricing point suggested by Sam to try and calculate the revenue. You've already seen a little bit from Claire's slide how you might calculate it. It's very straightforward. You really want to use the price point to try and determine that. I will give you one hint though. It may be that the price point is set, it's not fixed, right? That can't change. But it may be that some customers may not be willing to pay. How might you deal with that dilemma, right? So that's the only thing to think about. So we'll have, since we've already very familiar with the data, we'll have about 7 to 8 minutes to try and calculate, because once you do one, you just need to drag down, right? If you've used Excel, you can just effectively just copy and paste the formula and it will just automatically calculate. Hopefully there'll be someone in the group who can help with that. So you need to basically use the price point to calculate the revenue, how will you figure that out, and how will you assume for the fact that not every player will be willing to pay? Hope that makes sense. Does anyone have any questions before we open up the breakout rooms? Okay, great, fantastic. So I'll stop sharing. This one is 7 minutes, guys, because you're already familiar with the data. Yeah, see you shortly. Don't worry. Feel free to say what you want to say. Just for those who are watching, they can also reflect on their takeaways for
Perfect timing.
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Anna.
No, similar to what Donetta and Nina said. I'm in people development, so sometimes I don't always have a seat at the table in terms of revenue, projections, where the company wants to go in terms of profitability. So it's interesting for me to, I feel like it's zooming out because I tend to really zoom in on developing people. But for me, this was an exercise in zooming out and getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, which for me is I mean, when you said Kaggle, I was like, what the hell am I doing? What is this? But, it's just, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
I think you probably summed up the whole essence of what we were trying to achieve. It is the first time we run this, so we look forward to your feedback. And I think the key is you don't need to be an expert in this area, and you never need to use this every day, but you just need to learn the language. It just like when I speak to my elderly parents, I speak in a slightly different way. When I speak to my children, I speak in a slightly different way. It doesn't mean I'm a child. It just means that I know how to speak their language. You're not becoming a less of a people professional. You're just learning how to be more and more adaptable and fluid inside the business. But you summed it up beautifully. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you, Zoraida.
For me, I'm used to looking at information in a more passive way to understand what happened last year, what increased, decreased. And for me, it was very interesting to look at the same information, but in an active role where I get to influence the decisions they're gonna how do you say this? That's gonna be revealed next year, not the past, but to impact the future. So that was very interesting.
Yeah, no, great. I think that active to passive to active, beautiful. We're going to take this away, by the way. Mehdi?
For me, it was great to know all the, different metrics that could be used. I already had the opportunity to define a pricing strategy within a company I worked for, but I was not aware of Kaggle, EBITDA. I didn't know how to calculate it, and it's important to take into account also what the business suggests, and then try to shape what you can try to put in place, whether it is to shape a product, define a learning strategy that would comply or support it, and also understand better the needs for it. Yeah.
And on that note, this was about what is business strategy. To learn how Arcadia will set a learning strategy tied to this and other business goals, there's another interactive simulation we're using with an actual person from Arcadia. We had to change the company name. Adam G is from another company, but they're a gaming software company, but we had to change it for confidentiality reasons. So I'll put the link for that simulation. If you now want to know, well, how do I now bring the learning into play, the learning strategy, you could attend that in part 2 of the workshop. Thanks to that. Thanks for sticking on. I mean, my gosh, it must be really late for you there. So good to meet you.
Yeah, it's my bedtime now.
I know. I'm sure you're gonna have nice dreams of all of us. Thank you so much. If you need to drop off, feel free. Alex, coming to you.
Thank you.
Last but not least.
Yeah, this was super interesting for me. I deeply enjoyed the process, and all of this stuff was actually new. Like all the terminology, everything was new, and it's very interesting to start thinking in this way.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much. It's been great to meet you all. We will follow up with the resources.
I just have a comment to add. I don't know if you have in your companies trainings or content that could democratize and vulgarize all the notions that we've gone through today. But to me, it shows also it raised the question of how it can arise in different companies. So because it's not supposed to be only a question for business or L&Ds, but for everybody in the company. So how transparency and trainings around these notions could be profitable too. I don't know if I'm understood here, but
So you mean how do we train others outside of L&D as well? So sales managers,
Yeah.
engineering people about business acumen. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Sales. I think it's okay for them, but
Oh
yes.
but yeah, tech people. And so firstly, that's what I do as Manager Kind. My company trains sales, quantitative mathematicians, tech people in how to achieve business goals and bring people along the way. So we teach soft skills. So we have like how to resolve conflict and feedback for a company like Arcadia, and somebody doesn't want to do paid games, etc. So we do that. I can send more information on it, and it's why I then said, well, why don't I help L&D colleague? Because we train managers, so it's a collaboration between the two companies. Thanks for the suggestion, and we could probably roll out more of it. I'm conscious that I'm keeping so many people back. I really appreciate you coming on. I just wanted to make sure we had a good reflection. Thanks, Annette. Feel free to jump off. Chris, final thoughts from yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Saad, and thank you, everyone. I think for me, the final thought is, to take all of like everything that we've looked at through how we build out the business strategy, and then as learning professionals, when in our companies, when the strategy has been identified, then it's an opportunity for us to get curious about, okay, how can we then make an impact, and how can we support us in getting this revenue, and how can we support us in having these paid games be successful, and in our customer support staff or whatever it is. And so, I think it's been fabulous to watch you all learn and experiment with so much, and then also you're dealing with being uncomfortable, and really want to give you a lot of cheers for that. It's definitely want to give you a lot of that. So yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chris, for that great summary and great sentiment. Please stay in touch. We're going to offer a lot more free workshops on paid one-to-one coaching as well, if you're interested in that, to guide you through your journey. Thanks so much again, guys, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care.
Actually, wait, one other thing.
yeah,
If you haven't yet clicked the survey link, so it's in the chat, if you can please click that link, because any feedback that you have is fabulous, super helpful. It's an investment in this. So really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to take a break and come back, but leave it up open on your screen, the link, and then you can fill in the survey afterwards. Thank you so much, guys. Great to meet you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, both.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.